Hello, this is TheAshleyCorinne, and um, this video is really inspired by a dream I had last night. And I'll briefly explain the dream. In this dream, I was uh, I was walking in what looked like maybe was like New Mexico or Arizona or something. It was probably like Arizona or something. I don't know. It was like really flat and um, kind of like had kind of like an orangish tint to everything. I don't know. Anyways, I've only been to Arizona once when I was a little kid, so that's what I imagine it is like. Um, but I was in this neighborhood, and the way this neighborhood was is it went up this hill, and then there was these houses at the top of the hill, and then the hill just kind of went down. And I was talking to I think it was like my brother or my dad or something, and I was like, somehow this was like the neighborhood I grew up in or something like that. Even though I was, or when I was a little kid, even though I was born in Utah, and so the first couple years of my life was in Utah, but this wasn't Utah. But and I want to go see what's past that neighborhood or past those houses. He's like, oh, there's really nothing past that, and I was like, okay, but I decided to go anyways, and so I started going, and I had to kind of like go past these houses, and there was these two Mexican guys, and there was a big Mexican dude, and then younger, smaller Mexican dude, and I was like, they started going along with me, and so we were trying to go past these houses, and we had to like go through these people's backyards and shit, and we got to this point where there was these houses, and there was this rock wall that went up the side, and there was these steps, and there was also on the going the other direction along the edge was this little stream of water. It was like a cement, little thing like a fountain, that this stream of water that went over to this fountain and shit. And I was gonna go over there, but then the Mexican guys were like, "Come on, man, let's go down this way." So we went down these stairs that went down along the rock wall, and we went down and it was kind of weird because the further we went, the more houses there were. They just kind of somehow seemed to appear, and so we just kept going, and we eventually went down the side of this hill, and there was more houses, like on when as the road went flat. So the neighborhood just kept going, and so we were walking down the street once we got down off the hill, and we were saying something about how we were looking for the Jews. I don't know. I'm not Jewish, but and I was saying something in the Mexican, but this relates to Mormonism, but I'll talk about that. The Mexican was like, the Mexican dudes were like, yeah, man, we're Jews and we're looking for Jews. And then I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm not Jewish. And they're like, really? What are you? And I'm like, I'm a pagan. And they're like, oh. And then somehow we started talking about the second coming of the pagans. And I was like, oh, the second coming of the pagans. I like the sound of that. And then I woke up. And of course, I think the reason why I had this dream was that it's conference weekend for the Mormons. So it's, twice a year. It's general conference, and all the church leaders get together in Salt Lake City, and they give speeches basically telling the Mormons how to live their life and what they should do. And so, but where this dream comes into it, and how these two Mexican guys were saying, oh, we're Jews and we're looking for the Jews, it goes into Mormon doctrine, because in the Book of Mormon, it basically states that Native Americans and all of the native peoples of the Americas, including the Pacific Islanders, Hawaiians, Tongans, people from South America, the Mayans, the Aztecs, all that, Native Americans of North America, the Iroquois, um, all the other tribes. It basically claims that they are descendants of Jews that traveled to America in boats. Which, funny enough, the BYU scientists have since disproven that through genetic research, basically proving genetically that the native peoples of the Americas are descended from Asians. But anyways, the point of the dream was that I was somehow saying I was Jewish when we were talking about it, and they were saying they were Jewish. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not Jewish. I'm not fucking Jewish. And that's true, literally. I'm not Jewish, but it's like, but they weren't Jewish either. But what the point of that whole conversation is that I was pagan, and I have pagan ancestry, and they had pagan ancestry. That is to say, Native American, ancestry. And it's like, but we were looking for the Jews. And the Jews, basically meaning that we were, although we had pagan ancestry, we were looking to or following this kind of monotheistic ideal that was handed down from the Jews. So we've basically been Judaized and Christianized. And I think it was significant. I didn't really understand right after I woke up, the significance of why it was two Mexican guys. But it's like, I'm white. I have European pagan ancestry. But I've been Christianized. My people have been Christianized. And they are Mexican, so they're descended of, native peoples of the Americas. And they have been Christianized. South America has been effectively Christianized, Catholicized, to be precise. But Mormonism is also getting big down there, getting big amongst the Pacific Islander people, and one angle that the Mormons take it at is this whole thing about the fucking Lamanites being, I don't know, it's all bullshit though. But the second coming of the Jews, I'm sorry, the second coming of the pagans, this is part one, and I'm going to have to make another part to this because I'm running out of time because I had to explain that dream. But I think it's significant because, we have forgotten, in large part, white people and non-white people, or I should say the people of North America and South America. That includes white, Hispanic, and black people too. But it's like we've been Christianized. We've forgotten our pagan roots. We've forgotten that. We've been converted as a culture. And it's like the second coming of the pagans is occurring right now. What I would call the second coming of the pagans. And that's the return of paganism. And I'm not just talking about neo-paganism. I'm not just talking about Wicca. I'm talking about pagan in the most basic sense of the term, as in, indigenous, more nature-centered, more naturalistic ways of thinking. This could include, voodoo. It could include, Native American religions and, more indigenous religions. But the second coming of the pagans is occurring, and it's good. It needs to happen. So this is part one. I'm going to upload part two right here, right now. But that, I just had to explain that dream as, kind of like to set the scene. Stay tuned for part two, bitches.